specialized agencies that make up the United Nations system in New York and Geneva, Switzerland. It has an office in Vienna, Austria, and economic commissions in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Amman, Jordan, Bangkok, Thailand, and in Santiago, Chile. The current secretary is Mr. Antonio Guterres, and the president of ECOSOC is Mrs. Inga Randa King. We are the actual representatives of the ECOSOC Council.
ECOSOC, funciones y poderes. El Consejo Económico y Social tiene las siguientes prerrogativas. Sirve de foro central para el examen de los problemas económicos y sociales y la elaboración de recomendaciones de políticas dirigidas a los Estados miembros y al sistema de Naciones Unidas. Realiza e inicia estudios, informes y recomendaciones de índole económica, social, cultural, educacional y de salud. Fomenta el respeto y la observancia de los derechos humanos y las libertades fundamentales de todos. Convoca conferencias internacionales y prepara proyectos de convenciones para someterlos a la consideración de la Asamblea General. Coordina las actividades de los organismos especializados mediante consultas y recomendaciones directas o haciendo recomendaciones a la Asamblea o Estados miembros. Celebra consultas con las organizaciones no gubernamentales, así como nosotros, que se ocupan de asuntos que competen al Consejo.
ECOSOC functions and powers. The Economic and Social Council has the following prerogatives: to serve as a central forum for the examination of economic and social problems and the preparation of policy recommendations addressed to the member states and the United Nations system. We carry out or initiate studies, reports, and recommendations of an economic, social, cultural, educational, and health nature. We encourage respect and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, convene international conferences, and prepare draft conventions for submission to the General Assembly's consideration. We coordinate the activities of the specialized agencies through direct consultations and recommendations, or making recommendations to the Assembly or member states. And we hold consultations with non-governmental organizations that deal with matters that are the Council's responsibility.
La ONU ha establecido los objetivos del desarrollo del milenio. Es su proyecto más relevante y se está llevando a cabo y les ha titulado en los Objetivos del Desarrollo Sostenible al año 2030.
The most relevant project that is being carried out by the United Nations are the Sustainable Development Goals of the Millennium to 2030.
En 2015, los líderes del mundo hicieron una gran promesa. Y la promesa fue que en los 15 años, que los próximos 15 años, la vida de miles de millones de personas mejorará sin que nadie se quede atrás. Esa promesa son los objetivos del desarrollo sustentable. Como representantes de la Confederación ante la ONU, el 17 de octubre de 2018 estuvimos en las Naciones Unidas, sede en Nueva York, para el 70 aniversario de la Declaración Universal de los Derechos Humanos y la celebración del Día Internacional para la Erradicación de la Pobreza. El objetivo fue recordar el vínculo fundamental que existe entre la extrema pobreza y los derechos humanos, y el hecho de que las personas que viven en marginación se ven afectadas de forma desproporcionada por las numerosas violaciones a sus derechos. La Confederación se unió a varias ONGs para construir un mundo inclusivo donde los derechos humanos sean universalmente respetados. Manifiesta acelerar las acciones mundiales para un mundo sin pobreza.
Visit to the United Nations. In 2015, the world's leaders made a great promise. A promise that over the next 15 years, the lives of billions of people were going to get better with no one left behind. That promise is the Sustainable Development Goals. As representatives of the International Confederation of Christian Family Movements at the United Nations, on October the 17th, 2018, we were at the United Nations headquarters, New York, for the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the celebration of the Day of the Eradication of Poverty. The objective was to recall the fundamental link between the extreme poverty and human rights and the fact that people living in marginalization are disproportionately affected by the many violations of their rights. The Confederacy joined several ONGs to build an inclusive world where human rights are universally respected. The manifest was accelerating global actions for a world without poverty.
Las metas con las que actualmente está trabajando la Confederación Internacional de Movimientos Familiares Cristianos son erradicación de la pobreza, la protección social en forma de apoyos económicos y ayuda a la niñez contribuye a la reducción de pobreza extrema, así como también el capacitar a las familias en aspectos sociales de desarrollo personal, teniendo como eje la palabra de Dios, les lleva a elevar los niveles económicos de la familia. La evidencia nos muestra que las políticas de protección social otorgadas a familias son efectivas para reducir la pobreza.
Objective 1, eradication of poverty. Social protection in the form of economic support and aid to children contributes to the reduction of extreme poverty, as well as the training of families in social aspects of personal development. Having as access the Word of God leads them to raise the levels of family socio-economics. The evidence shows that social protection policies given to families are effective in reducing poverty.
Objetivo 3. Salud. Es importante desarrollar el involucramiento familiar basado en marcos teóricos para incrementar el conocimiento acerca de la mejora en las relaciones familiares. Habituarse a todo tipo de estudio que se relacione con el crecimiento y bienestar familiar. Implementamos estas intervenciones a través de nuestro método de estudio, el ver, iluminar y actuar. Proveemos intervenciones en la familia en diferentes etapas de la vida y en la niñez, para enseñar a los niños comportamientos saludables y de prevención de enfermedades. También incluyen los adolescentes quienes están en riesgo hasta de llegar a un suicidio. Promovemos habilidades en los padres, hábitos de salud como medio para reducir riesgos de comportamientos como la diabetes, la depresión, la ira, el uso de las drogas, el consumo del alcohol y el estrés.
Third objective, health. It is important to develop family involvement based on theoretical frameworks to increase knowledge about improvement in family relationships, accustomed to all types of studies that are related to growth and family well-being. That's why the kids who came and they told you directly, Daddy, I want you to talk to me. Daddy, I want you to be with me. Daddy, I want to be part of the family and I want you to make me and involve me in all your things and your problems. Yes, that's what we're doing. We implement these interventions through our study method, seeing, lightning, or illuminating and acting. To provide interventions in the family at different stages of life and in childhood. To teach children healthy behaviors and disease prevention. Also include a lot of adolescents who are at risk of suicide. Yes, you have to be careful. There are a lot of adolescents that are asking for yourself, that are asking you to help them. They are asking you to be with them. They are asking you to be part of the family. So you have to really work hard on that. I have seen some communities, like the ones in Philippines, who are doing that. They're going directly to the bishops and to the priests, or the ones in Africa also with Priest Vincent, or with Bishop Jerry and the other bishops. They are asking them for help because they want their families to be with them. So that's the way. Sometimes teachers, as myself, we have to help them because they are in this, having this risks of suicide. We have to promote skills in parents of health habits as a means to reduce risks of diabetic behaviors, depression, anger, drug use, alcohol consumption, and stress. Bishop Jerry told us, eat the half. Remember? Eat the half.
Objetivo número 4, calidad de educación. Trabajamos fuertemente con formación de valores humanos y cristianos. Son 120,000 familias nucleares, 5,000 familias monoparentales, 30,000 jóvenes y adolescentes, egresando aproximadamente 60,000 cada 4 años.
Quality education. We work hard in training in human and Christian values with 120,000 nuclear families, 5,000 single-parent families, 30,000 youth and adolescents, graduating approximately 60,000 every 4 years. I've heard some other ciphers there, but this is what we have in our last, what we do for the United Nations. This is what is established there, so I cannot change the ciphers, okay?
Objetivo 4, educación. Cuando las familias se benefician de políticas educativas fuertes, aparte de lograr el ambicioso objetivo de desarrollo sustentable número 4, relacionado con la participación y aprendizaje, el resultado para ambas, economía familiar y sociedades, conviven rápidamente y mejoran. La educación para padres influye favorablemente en su mercado laboral, en sus ingresos, en buenas prácticas de los papás en temas relacionados de salud y funcionamiento familiar. Para los niños, el mismo efecto se da en el mercado laboral en el largo plazo y se pueden esperar en la familia comportamientos saludables en el corto plazo. Finalmente, la educación estimula la innovación y las capacidades humanas, con ventajas no mencionadas para encontrar nuevas rutas a través del reto de este objetivo de desarrollo sustentable en varios frentes.
Objective 4, education. When families benefit from strong education policies, they achieve the ambitious ODS 4 related to participation and learning. The result for both family, economics, and societies in which they coexist quickly improve. Parental education has a favorable influence on our labor market, on your income, on good practices of dads, on health and family functioning. For children, the same effect is given in the labor market in the long term and can be expected in the family's healthy behaviors in the short term. Finally, education stimulates human innovation and capabilities with unmentioned advantages to finding new routes through the ODS challenge on several fronts.
El objetivo 5 nos habla de la igualdad de género. La interacción dentro de las familias afecta profundamente las relaciones de poder entre hombre y mujer, a través de asignación de roles y responsabilidades de trabajo doméstico y educación con los niños. Cómo el hombre y la mujer usan su tiempo dentro de la familia refleja y reproduce el acceso a los recursos fuera de casa, es decir, ingreso y poder político. Desigualdad de género en la esfera privada. A nivel individual, hombre y mujer necesitan mantener un balance adecuado entre empleo y responsabilidades familiares. Las soluciones propuestas varían entre países. Las políticas establecidas dependen de varios factores, tales como la estructura demográfica, la fertilidad, la mortandad, la movilidad, la disponibilidad de trabajadores inmigrantes. sus políticas sociales como el sistema de prestaciones, estructura familiar, políticas laborales, estructura de mercado laboral e ideología de roles de género. Es más, esas soluciones existen dentro de un contexto de cambios de tipo de familias de una sola persona, en su mayoría son mujeres. Por cierto, donde las mujeres tienen mayor influencia en las decisiones económicas, sus familias asignan más recursos a la comida, a la salud, a la educación, al vestido y a la nutrición de sus hijos.
Interaction within families deeply affects the relationships of power between men and women through the assignments of roles and responsibilities of domestic work and the education of children. How men and women use their time within the family reflects and reproduces access to resources away from home. In example, income and political power, gender inequality, and in the private sphere. At the individual level, men and women need to maintain an adequate balance between employment and family responsibilities. The proposed solutions vary between countries. Established policy on a number of factors such as demographic structure, fertility, mortality, mobility, social policies like benefit system, family structure, labor market structure policies, and gender role ideologies. What's more, these solutions exist within a context of family type changes of a single person, mostly women, indeed, where, could you change to the other? Where women have greater influence on economic decisions, their families allocate more resources to food, health, education, clothing, and child nutrition.
Objetivo número 5, equidad de género. Se está trabajando en el empoderamiento de la mujer para integrar un programa de formación para familias monoparentales, donde la mujer es cabeza de la familia. A la fecha contamos con 5,000 familias.
Gender equality. We are working on women's empowerment by integrating a training program for single-parent families where women are head of the household. We have 5,000 families up to date.
Objetivo 8, empleo, trabajo decente y económico. Las diferencias en acceso a oportunidades de empleo a menudo están basadas en la situación familiar, ingreso doméstico y empleo de los padres. Es claro que el rol de las políticas que afectan a las familias y en particular al empleo de los padres, junto con los beneficios sociales, son esenciales para el logro de este objetivo. Se da una paradoja en el hecho de que las familias más pobres con menos recursos económicos y con más necesidad de empleo de los jóvenes, a menudo sufren debido a la pobreza por el acceso a apoyos que necesitan para incorporarse al mercado laboral. Les hace falta información, conexiones, especialmente entre jóvenes que proceden de familias de escasos recursos económicos. A nivel sistémico, algunas de las mayores causas de desempleo en los jóvenes son las estrictas regulaciones que les dificultan el acceso a empleos seguros y estables. A menos que los jóvenes cuenten con apoyos, su acceso a la educación, empleo y capacitación, millones de ellos corren el riesgo de quedarse atrás. Es muy importante que los padres tengamos trabajos bien remunerados para que podamos construir el bienestar de nuestros hijos, para que así podamos afectar positivamente las actitudes, comportamientos y logros de los muchachos en el mercado laboral.
Objective 8, employment. Decent work and economic development. Differences in access to employment opportunities are often based on the family situation. Unless young people have support access to education, employment, and training, millions of them are at risk of falling behind. It is very important that parents have well-paid jobs so that they can contribute to the well-being of their children, so that they can positively affect the attitudes, behaviors, and achievements of the boys in the labor market.
Objetivo 16. Los objetivos de los itinerarios de formación de la Federación para las Familias, Jóvenes y Adolescentes de los Movimientos, en su contenido formativo, fomenta la vivencia de la paz, justicia, el respeto y la igualdad.
Objective 16. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. The objectives of the training itineraries for families, young people, and adolescents of the movements in their formative content promote the experience of peace, justice, respect, and equalities. Okay? So we have to promote just and inclusive societies. Sorry. We are going to present something about Objective 13, that it's about climate change. Place it there is the dark one. It's Objective 13. We can negotiate the facts, we can't negotiate the truth about the situation, and for those who are too fearful to finish, it can be done and must be done. Make sure we succeed, because we have to really work on this and do it. Okay, so that's why
before
we
you,
have this.
not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen, one of the 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday, and the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis. As an actor, I pretend for a living. I play fictitious characters, often solving fictitious problems. I believe that mankind has looked at climate change in that same way, as if it were a fiction, as if pretending that climate change wasn't real would somehow make it go away. But I think we all know better than that now. Every week we're seeing new and undeniable climate events, evidence that accelerated climate change is here right now. Droughts are intensifying, our oceans are acidifying, with methane plumes rising up from the ocean floor. We are seeing extreme weather events and the West Antarctic and Greenland ice sheets melting at unprecedented rates, decades ahead of scientific projections. None of this is rhetoric, and none of it is hysteria. It is fact. The scientific community knows it, industry knows it, governments know it, even the United States military knows it. The chief of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Command, Admiral Samuel Locklear, recently said that climate change is our single greatest security threat. My friends, this body, perhaps more than any other gathering in human history, now faces this difficult but achievable task. You can make history, or you will be vilified by it. To be clear, this is not about just telling people to change their light bulbs or to buy a hybrid car. This disaster has grown beyond the choices that individuals make. This is now about our industries and our governments around the world taking decisive, large-scale action. Now must be our moment for action. We need to put a price tag on carbon emissions and eliminate government subsidies for oil, coal, and gas companies. We need to end the free ride that industrial polluters have been given in the name of a free market economy. They do not deserve our tax dollars. They deserve our scrutiny, for the economy itself will die if our ecosystems collapse. The good news is that renewable energy is not only achievable, but good economic policy. This is not a partisan debate, it is a human one. Clean air and a livable climate are inalienable human rights. And solving this crisis is not a question of politics, it is a question of our own survival. This is the most urgent of times and the most urgent of messages. Honored delegates, leaders of the world, I pretend for a living, but you do not. The people made their voices heard on Sunday around the world, and the momentum will not stop. But now it is your turn. The time to answer humankind's greatest challenge is now. We beg of you to face it with courage and honesty. Thank you.
Thank you. like you, could you please, Bishop Jerry? I would just like to introduce to you to Bishop Jerry. Well, you know him, he has been giving us Mass. Bishop, please.
In Spanish.
Bueno, Bishop Jerry trabaja muy duro en todo lo que es lo de la tierra. Could you please explain us for the movement what you have done?